The world of ARMS is a very interesting one, but one that is often overlooked despite all of its world building. Today's topic will delve deep into every character individually as we discuss their nationalities. While there is no confirmation that this world is the same as ours, there were at least plans to make it as such, as seen on this piece of concept art. We can see two fighters, one from Japan and one from the UK respectively. It's also important to note that none of the fighters' nationalities are outright confirmed, so this video will be composed of very educated guesses. So, let's get started with it. Our first character today is Springman. One of the big factors to take into consideration when deciding where each character comes from is their spoken language, but we will be looking into the background of some of these fighters as well. Anyways, Springman is a fluent English speaker, and his apartment and the Spring Gym seem to be located in the same city, which I believe to be New York. So we can confidently say that Springman is American. Thanks to this, we can also safely assume that the second Springman is also American. On to our next fighter. Ribbon Girl is a bit tricky to track down, but we can narrow it down pretty quickly. Ribbon speaks in English exclusively, but with a heavy accent, and while she is referred to as a pop star in-game, Biff refers to her as an idol in one of the Nintendo Directs. This term is mostly used to refer to Asian pop stars, so we can narrow her down to being either Korean or Japanese, since these are the most popular options. To decide her nationality, we will look into her voice actors, and with a quick search, we can see that she is a J-pop singer, which would make Ribbon Girl a J-pop idol as well. With all this info, we can conclude that Ribbon Girl is Japanese. Now, unlike Ribbon Girl, Ninjara is fairly easy to track down. Ninjara is a Japanese college student studying ninjutsu. Other than the fact that he speaks fluent Japanese, ninjas originate from Japan, so it wouldn't be surprising to know that the Rasen Ninjutsu University is located in Japan as well. Master Mummy is another tricky one, as he only growls and says mummy in-game. The process of mummification has been practiced among different cultures throughout history, but the Egyptians are the most known for doing this. I wouldn't outright confirm Mummy is Egyptian, but it's our closest guess. Mechanica is one of those characters which she could easily be from anywhere, but her fluent Japanese and strong liking of Ribbon Girl point to Mech and her father being Japanese. There's not much else to say on Mech, so let's move on. Min Min is probably the easiest character to track down, and probably the one y'all already knew. We could say her nationality is coded the hardest into herself than any other character in the roster. Min Min is Chinese, speaks fluent Chinese, and we can even see the Chinese character for noodle on her shirt and back part of her hat. This next one will be the biggest reach of the entire video. This entry is for all the ARMS Labs bots. There is zero evidence on where they could have been created, especially because the ARMS Labs are a worldwide organization. But knowing that Labs is an extension of League, and that the ARMS League HQ is in New York, thanks to the comic, we could say that the ARMS Labs HQ are in America as well. So we can say that Helix, The Cell, Headlock, and Springtron are all American. And just like the ARMS Labs, Kid Cobra is a very mysterious character which we know very little of, as he could be literally anything, from a very large person to an anthropomorphic snake experimented on by the ARMS Labs. All theories aside, we can also reach a little here to find his nationality. If we look into Kid Cobra's affiliation, the Naja crew, we can see that Naja is often what can be referred to as a true cobra, and often seen in Africa and Asia. This is really broad, and doesn't really give us a definitive answer, but this can be left to your own interpretation, as it's also widely unknown what language he speaks of. Moving on to Bite and Bark, these two might seem hard to narrow down, but are fairly easy to track as well. Thanks to the people in ARMS Central, I can say their design is influenced by that of the Scotland Yard. Not to mention, Bite also speaks in English. While this might not be conclusive evidence, I can fairly believe that these two are Scottish. However, we must take into consideration that the minigame and Buster Beach Islands are artificial, and they could have been built there instead, belonging to no nation. Twintle is another easy one. The name of her stage is in French. Cinema 2 translates to Cinema 2, and she herself speaks French fluently, so everything points to Twintle being French. Next up, it's Max Brass. Thanks to the research done before, and the fact that he speaks fluent English, we know that Max Brass is also American. To double down, the super skyscraper that houses the ARMS League HQ is also the same one that houses the Sky Arena, placing it in New York alongside the Spring Gym. Lollapop is a character that speaks mostly in onomatopoeia, but she seems to be proficient in both English and Italian. Her stage name and some of her quotes are in Italian. Via Dolce takes a lot of inspiration from Italian streets, so it's not a stretch to conclude on Lollapop being Italian. A quick side note and thoughts from me before we continue, but I really love how much this game can tell to you without all of it needing to be presented in an easily digestible way, adding to the mystery and self-research you can do on this world. Anyways, let's continue. Next up we have Misongo and Biff. Starting with Biff, the Misongan tribe has a lot of imagery reminiscent of him, so he could easily be the ethnic god to this tribe. However, Biff can be a god of this world in general and not belong to one tribe, as he can also be seen in older images unrelated to the Misonga tribe. Biff is kind of an unaware god, however, as you can see in Misongo's Grand Prix victory screen, and he is often seen hanging around Max Brass and the Arms League in general, serving as its commentator. So for Biff being a deity, he does not belong to one nation. Misongo and the Misongans in general speak their own language, so we'll have to take a look at Misongo's character design to crack the code. We can see heavy Mayan inspiration in his overall design, so this narrows down Misongo to Central America. To narrow it down even more, we can check history, and see that the Mayans inhabited 4 countries mainly, so Misongo could either be from Guatemala, Mexico, Belize, and Honduras. There is nothing to conclude on, so his nationality is also left open to your interpretation. And finally, for Dr. Coyle we have 2 options. She speaks English fluently, with a heavy accent. It could be British or Australian, but looking at voice actors again, Coyle is voiced by Donna Burke, who is an Australian voice actress, so we could safely assume that Coyle herself is also Australian. And those would be all of the characters' nationalities. This video was very quick, but I hope you enjoyed it since this is a very fun topic. Are you surprised about any of these? Or do you disagree or have your own headcanons? Let me know your thoughts, as any type of arms discussion is welcome here, and I love reading it. I also wanted to thank y'all for the amazing support you give giving to my channel. At the time of this recording, I have 150 subscribers, which is a lot more than I expected this channel to have a year ago. It really means a lot to me to be able to make it out there by posting content of my favorite game of all time. That's all for today, and don't forget to subscribe for more ARMS content.